Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny. Yeah, it's actually snowing outside. Sometimes Colorado. Today is March 14th, 2024. It is Pi Day, and I'm making a brief video talk about something that has come up. There's a diversity of opinions floating around the ecosystem about how people should write software, what matters, what are boundaries of security. And reasonable people can disagree, but there are sometimes things that need to be pointed out. So this is a tweet that I just saw from the Daedalus Turbo project. It says, already testing Windows 11 build. The video shows updated sync screen with a duration forecast and detailed info about consumed resources to suggest which hardware upgrades can help. Recorded on a high-end Windows laptop with 1 gigabit internet. Full sync just takes 9 minutes. That's an insanely dishonest and misleading thing. Just because you can pull from a centralized server the totality of the Cardano blockchain in 9 minutes time does not mean that you're actually processing the blockchain and validating the blockchain. A blockchain is a sequential process at its core. It's very difficult to parallelize it because of the nature of the data sets. You have block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a list. It's a linked chain. So every single thing that goes in the next block has some form of a reference to the prior set of work, and you validate sequentially. You can't break the chain up into batches and say this bucket over here and this bucket over here and this bucket over here, we're going to run in parallel on different cores, because it's a sequential process. The only way you could do that is if you have proofs that you're validating against, like Mithril certificates or some other artifact. So when somebody says we're retrieving a blockchain in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, multi-gigabyte file that has an enormous amount of complex cryptography that runs in a sequential process, what they're saying is we're connecting to a single peer, we're pulling that data, getting it into my local database, and either I'm just completely trusting it or I'm not checking it. They're not saying I've retrieved all of this and I'm able to then sweep the entire chain and validate the entire chain. The problem is the vast majority of people reading that tweet don't understand how blockchains work. And so they're under the assumption that there's some magical thing that Alex has done that automatically translates and means that that is completely secure and validated. There is no peer-to-peer in this implementation. There's no support for Ouroboros Genesis in this implementation. If this was to exist and proliferate, no one would have Ouroboros Genesis, which is soon coming this year, likely in the middle part of it, based on the work of Tweak, which has been a fundamental security goal of the entire ecosystem since 2018, when that paper was written. Mithril already, in the lab, we've shown how to do parallel validation with that technology. And it exists in orders of magnitude that are very competitive, hours to synchronize the full node. This is not a network problem. It is easy to build a server client model where you download from a single source an arbitrarily large set of data and then store it unvalidated. It is much harder to do fast validation in a sequential process. Cryptographic data lacks structure and order by design. Hashes, encryption, signature outputs, these types of things are by design unordered, unstructured, and unpredictable. If they had patterns, they would not have security. So there's not much you can do to optimize large sets and blobs of them. And if you have a linked list of objects, you have to do A, then B, then C, then D, 0, 1, 2, 3. You have to work your way through it and validate every step of the way. Numerous different types of validation logic by the eras of Cardano. This is why a full node is a complicated affair. It's a database, it's a server, and it's a wallet. It's a lot of stuff. And while differences of opinion can form. There's TX pipe, and people are building full nodes of Cardano like Harmonic is. People are looking at a Go implementation of Ouroboros, and we've been remarkably supportive throughout all the years of diversity and having different opinions and different priorities. Whenever something occurs that is either misleading or compromises the security of the system or destroys the incumbent roadmap and prevents us from moving to things like Ouroboros Genesis if adopted at scale, or doesn't have capabilities like peer-to-peer, these are concerns that I have. And it's my obligation and duty to inform people that they're being misinformed. It is not honest to represent 9 minutes as a full sync and equivalent to the Daedalus copies that so many of you have installed. It is a fundamentally dishonest statement. And you have to understand that that's not okay. And you have to understand that there's an asterisk there. There's a fine print there. It's awesome that people have gotten funded to go and experiment and improve things. From our part, we've tried very hard to work with this particular team and convey some ideas on how Daedalus can be improved, including support for Mithril. They've chosen a radically different path. It is our belief that that radically different path does not correspond with the security and functionality that people in this network expect. Take of that what you will. If it was so remarkably easy to make things work in 9 minutes time, you have to ask yourself, why wasn't it done? Were we lazy? Were we incompetent? We just, for some reason, wanted to inconvenience every single person? And then ask yourself, why is this not done then in Bitcoin for full nodes there? Ethereum for full nodes there? ICP for full nodes there? Tell me, even in the fast sync conditions of an Ethereum node, optimistically, how long does it take to validate a full node? Does it make sense to you that that could be done in 9 minutes when these are multi-day affairs? There's something missing there. It's the validation part. That's the constraining factor. You're not network constrained. You're process constrained by computation. That's just a universal reality. The only way you get out of that is with architectural changes, data structure changes, new proof structures, and other such things that allow some degree of parallelism. And there have been numerous proposals throughout the years for how one can accomplish that. And that was one of the design goals of Mithril. We encourage every single wallet maker in the Cardano ecosystem, an SPO, to get involved in the Mithril program. And we're at an inflection point where we're going to start moving in that direction. We're already talking about Mithril integration with Lace Wallet in the browser. We've also been talking about Mithril integration with a full node and trying to create a full wallet with it, with FastSync. It's one of the reasons we haven't released a Lace desktop edition was we were waiting for Mithril support, because we do believe you can massively parallelize and massively improve the speed at which people sync a node and validate a node. And with optimizations to peer-to-peer, you can start downloading blocks much faster. But you have to understand that this network is built for resilience in mind. Things aren't necessarily the fastest because you have to protect against eclipse attacks, network asymmetries, and all kinds of other things that come up in a Byzantine peer-to-peer network, which is what you'd expect, intentionally or unintentionally. Sometimes people's internets go crazy. Sometimes nodes get compromised by botnets. Sometimes people purposely modify their software to attempt to take things down and damage things. Your security model has to perform in all of those cases, not just one or none. And if you adopt things only for one aspect, maximizing download speed from a single server, you're brittle. And the minute that you step outside of that security model, it breaks the entire network for all of those full nodes. 6.5 years of research and development went into Cardano's network stack. We have the single most advanced and sophisticated network stack in the entire industry. Of all the things we've done, this is one of the greatest accomplishments, the R&D that's put in. Daedalus under the hood, however slow or however inconvenient it can be on that side, is built this way. And there's been enormous improvements throughout the years and new functionality throughout the years, including full peer-to-peer, building up to Genesis, which gives us parity with what Bitcoin has accomplished with proof of work, the first proof of stake network in the entire industry to achieve this. You will not get this with the current design of this software. And it's disingenuous to say anyway. And so I just figured I'd make this video and relay this message. I've been very patient and I've been okay. It is what it is, but it's starting to cascade and people are starting to believe things that are simply put not true. And they're starting to think that for some reason we got this wrong. We fully admit design mistakes that we've made or issues that we've had or problems. The interface in the node, for example, could have been more permissive, and then DB Sync would have been a lot easier to construct. Plutus application backend perhaps could have been done a little differently. There's dozens of design choices, roadmap choices, and other things that in reflection and hindsight were not the best. But with respect to the wallet backend, with respect to Daedalus, and respect to a full node, best practices of the industry as a whole were followed, and unique design decisions were made that massively secure the Cardano network. To throw those decisions away and then broadcast that things are orders of magnitude better without in the fine print explaining what has been done is a dishonest thing to do. And tweets like that are counterproductive to what we've achieved as an ecosystem. So I have to take a position at some point, and that's the position I take. Take what you will of it. It's an open ecosystem. People can certainly do what they want to do. The fact that Daedalus Turbo got funded and continues to operate is an indication of the ecosystem's will. But do know that you should be armed with full disclosure and full information. And it is my opinion that this software does not fully validate the node. It is not a full node, and it is not designed in accordance with the current desires and goals of the network to have Genesis and full peer-to-peer. And if those things were accounted for, the performance gains and would go down dramatically and be less than a node that's enabled Mithril. We highly encourage all wallet makers to use Mithril, whether it be a light node or a full node. And we'd love to collaborate with every single person. Arnaud is a very friendly person, as is the rest of the team that's worked on that. And there's many great stake pool operators already running Mithril. It was built for this purpose, to be there for light nodes and fast bootstrap. And we've already in the lab tested repeatedly Mithril, and we know that it does a lot. And we'd love to see it proliferate amongst the wallets in the ecosystem, and would be happy to work with the wallet makers in the ecosystem to see that reality for the benefit of everybody in Cardano. What's not okay, though, is to ignore the entire security model of the system, do something radically different, and then represent it as if it's a major innovation, and somehow everybody else is getting it wrong. I don't understand why a person would choose that approach. And again, this is not a video one makes lightly. There's been a lot of back and forth contact. There's been a lot of discussions throughout the months privately to try to align and reconcile, and they have not been successful. And when I see tweets like this, it tells me that we're just going to continue moving in the other direction then. And if that's the case, that's fine, but at least you need to know our opinion and the technical reality on the ground. And I hope that you take that to heart and use some wisdom and discretion in your judgment. Thank you.